Guys, don't you use your girlfriend's shampoo or your wife's shampoo. Your hair's your hair. It's yours. Get your own Dove Men Plus Care. Range designed to give your hair the hair and your hair the care it needs. Go to Walmart. Get it at Walmart. Dove. So when you buy a house, does location matter? When you rent an apartment, does location matter? When you buy a condo, does the neighborhood matter? Yeah. If you bought a restaurant or built a restaurant, would location matter? Yeah, okay. If you're thinking about retirement and you want to buy a piece of land and build a home, would the location matter? Yeah, anytime there's an acquisition, what is around you is paramount to the decision. Nobody wants to live in a bad neighborhood. Nobody wants to build a restaurant in a lousy location. Nobody wants to have a piece of land with no views. So when you make an acquisition of any type, location, location, location. The same thing yesterday. The Pittsburgh Steelers gave away another draft pick. They gave up a 5th-round draft pick for a tight end currently in the league named Nick Vannett. Not a great player, but he's a good player. He's productive, right? And everybody's like, whoa, stupid, and giving away your future. By the way, you do realize what you get in the 5th round. Nick Vannett. At least this Nick Vannett has been in the league, won't be a whiff, and can produce. So they gave up what you would get in the draft with experience. But Pittsburgh, why acquiring this, looked at the land and the location. And let's start with the AFC. Pittsburgh's 0-3. You're bailing on them. There's 6 0-3 teams in the NFL. 5 are in the AFC. Last year, the Houston Texans went 0-3 and won a division. And Indy went 1-5 and got to the playoffs. What do they have in common? They play in the AFC. The AFC 0-3 is not a death sentence. Mark Schlereth talked about this yesterday on our show. So this is the first thing. The Steelers acquiring a player looked at the AFC.
There's 6 teams that go in the playoffs in the AFC. You know who number 7 is right now? Mathematically, the Oakland Raiders. They're 1-2. There are 10 teams right now that are 1-2 or less. So either 1-2 or 0-3. 10 teams. So that means that everybody is theoretically still in it.
Okay, so they look around. Location, location, location. AFC's a mess outside of New England, Kansas City. And then they look at their division. All right, let's look at that land. Let's look at that location. Well, Cincinnati can never beat Pittsburgh, and they're weak. Cleveland right now is a hot mess with Freddie Kitchens. Bad O-line. Steelers do have a good pass rush. And Baltimore, Pittsburgh says, well, hell, we play them in 8 days. We might as well figure it out now. We play them in 8 days. So let's get the guy in-house. Let's get the guy in-house we need. So they look at the AFC, and they're like, you can go 0-3 here. They look at their division, teams they've mostly beaten the last 7 years. And then finally they look at their schedule. And oh my God, it's the strangest thing you've ever seen. In the next 7 weeks, they have 5 home games, a bye, and then they play in the smallest stadium in the league, Charger Stadium, which will be 70% Steeler fans. Of course they make the move. Their division's still winnable. And as much as I like Lamar, we don't know. This is not a Dak where we see the numbers. The guys started half a season. Cincinnati, Cleveland's a hot mess. They look at the AFC and say, well, Texans started 0-3 and won the dang division. Indianapolis started 1-5. And then look at their schedule. Their next, folks, listen to their next 7 weeks. Cincinnati at home, Baltimore at home. At the Chargers, might as well be a home game. Bye. Miami at home. Indy at home with a backup quarterback. And the Rams at home. Of course you give up a 5th-round pick for a tight end who is exactly what you'd get with a 5th-round pick. And he is at least in the NFL. Half the 5th-round picks aren't 3 years in. And he's productive enough for them to make the move. Totally defend the Steelers. I'm not going to say it's going to work. I'm not saying this piece of land is going to be worth $1 billion. I'm not saying that. It may not work. But when you acquire something, I get the reasoning behind the acquisition. Division, conference, schedule, I do the exact same thing. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Patriots travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills on Sunday. Buffalo fans call themselves Bills Mafia.
Yes, they do.
You know about Bills Mafia?
Yeah.
Known for getting pretty rowdy. And Bill Belichick is no stranger to the Bills' passionate fans, and he said he's prepared for their intensity. He said it's a very intense crowd. They're vocal, totally into it, and have great passion for the game. Some stadiums don't have quite the intensity Buffalo does. They have no other agenda. They're there to watch the game. It gets very loud.
It does. And by the way, now it's still good weather, but sometimes it's loud, windy, and cold, and that makes it even louder.
Yeah, I haven't been to Buffalo. My mother and my aunt have gone there to see Jason play.
Yeah.
This is way back in the day. The two of them are pretty rowdy themselves.
What did they say?
They have some stories. My mom could probably write a book about fan interactions. She would always wear Jason's jersey.
Yeah.
A giant, game length Jason jersey that went down her knees.
Yeah.
And the back of it said mom on it. So she may have been asking for it a little bit, especially going to Buffalo, but they do have great fans. Their defense ranks first in fewest yards allowed per drive, third in touchdown percentage per drive, and first in percentage of 3-and-outs for. So their defense is playing amazing this year.
Right now, New England's got a left tackle issue, a fullback issue, a wide receiver issue, and no tight end. So it's going to be, by the way, Vegas sees this game as very close. This is not going to, I'll make a bet now. New England does not get in the 30s. And I'm not sure they get more than the mid-20s.
This is a very interesting game.
It's really, this is one of these games, biggest game, by the way, in Buffalo in over 15 years. It's going to be crazy fun.
As Bill Belichick said, intense. Case Keenum had a rough night, turned the ball over 5 times, and the Redskins lost to the Bears. It got so bad Monday night that fans wanted Dwayne Haskins to take over at quarterback, but head coach Jay Gruden isn't ready to turn to the rookie just yet.
The season's not lost. It's not over. I know everybody wants to say it's over and the season's over. Go ahead and play Haskins, but we feel confident we can turn this thing around. So I'm out here at practice every day. We're out here at practice every day evaluating everybody. If we feel like Dwayne gives us the best chance to win in a coming game, we'll definitely put Dwayne in there. If we feel like it's Colt when he gets healthy, it could be Colt. But right now we feel like it's Case Keenum, and we're going to move forward with him this week.
By the way, I don't know what their schedule is, but I tried to do what the Giants did. I'd find a team without a lot of Pro Bowlers on defense and put them in. That's what the Giants did. They just figured out, we don't want him to play against Dallas on the road. Let's get him Tampa with no Pro Bowlers.
It's kind of a different situation for the Giants in Washington, though, because a lot of people feel like this is a very important year for Jay Gruden as far as keeping his job. So he's going to try and win as many games as possible, not necessarily develop Dwayne Haskins for the future and build the franchise for the next step. He claims he doesn't feel like he's coaching for his job, but...
Aren't you coaching for your job in Washington every year? I'm serious. They're the opposite of the Steelers. You're coaching for your job every year.
I don't think... other than New England and the Steelers are pretty unique in their head coaching situations. You never really feel like, even if the Steelers have a horrible season this year and can't turn it around, no one feels like Tomlin is in danger of losing his job. Ben is out. He's going to be back next year. There's different circumstances in this situation. I don't think we're going to see Dwayne Haskins this year, no matter how bad it gets, because he's just going to keep trying.
It's funny. I think Jay's a pretty good coach, and I have nothing to back that on because the wins aren't there. But there's a lot about Jay Gruden I like. Look at how many good coordinators he's developed. There's a lot of guys that come out of that whole Jay Gruden tree, and you're like, there's a lot of Shanahans and Sean McVays in that thing.
I don't think it's really fair to evaluate a lot of coaches based simply off of wins. As silly as that sounds, there's a lot of factors that go into it. If you look at the big picture, every season has a story. Every franchise has an owner. There are a lot of factors that go into whether you can coach to your full potential.
Pete Carroll's been fired twice. Andy Reid's been fired. Belichick's been fired. This league is you got
that's part of the game.
Crazy owner, bad breaks, don't get the right quarterback.
Right. Finally, speaking of all of that, the Browns have not looked good so far this season, and head coach Freddie Kitchens may already be on the hot seat. Bleacher Report's Mike Freeman spoke with 2 NFC assistant coaches who think Kitchens will end up being the scapegoat if the Browns can't turn things around. They think the media and the Browns themselves overestimated how good the team would be this year. One of the coaches said, it's not all Freddie's fault, but if this blows up, he will get all of the blame.
Well, you can't blame Baker because he is, when LeBron left, Baker's the city.
You can't fire players like that. That's the general rule. Like, of course, you can cut guys. You're not going to cut Baker.
Isn't it funny?
They're not going to get a new owner.
It's so funny now. All the Brownie fans who thought we were all haters, if you go to their sites and their Twitter accounts, they're all saying what all of us did in the summer, which is there's talent here, but it's going to take a long time to develop. They're saying now what we all told you was going to happen. And not just me. Every guy I respect in this business, every woman I respect was all like, 9-7 with a bunch of wins late feels kind of reasonable in the weaker AFC. If they were in the NFC, Browns aren't a playoff team in the NFC. If the Browns were in the NFC, I'd have them at 6-10 or 7-9. That's what I would have. But in the AFC, in a division with Cincinnati, that's 2 wins. And I think they can split. Yeah, I mean, and you can split with everybody else. But this is not a top. When I didn't put them in my initial herd hierarchy, people thought I was crazy. I'm like, how in God's name can you put this team in the top 10 if you have the NFC?
I mean, I thought they had the potential this year for a wild card. That's it.
And I'm battling for it,
right.
Not like secure.
And, look, my only issues with the Freddie Kitchens situation, because we don't know what Freddie Kitchens is that we probably won't find out what Freddie Kitchens is, because it feels like Freddie Kitchens was hired so that he could be controlled by the front office.
Yes.
And anytime that is, and I'm not saying that's the case because I don't have any information on that, but anytime that is the case, it never works, because you have to put people in position who are the best at that position and then empower them to be successful. You have to delegate. That's the way that it works. If you have a front office that wants all the credit and wants to control everything, they're not down there on the field. They're not the ones interacting with players. It doesn't work. It's an ego trip. It fails every single time. I'm not saying that's the situation, but if Freddie Kitchens ends up not getting his due, doesn't able to have his time to develop, then that's what it was.
Who in the world thinks Freddie Kitchens is going to be here for his entire contract? Nobody in the world, not even Mrs. Kitchens.
There's no evidence.
If there's a Mrs. Kitchens.
There's no evidence to prove otherwise. And this is a very important next couple weeks for the AFC North, because all the AFC North teams play each other this weekend. Browns at Ravens, Bengals at Steelers. And then the next 2 weeks for the Ravens are at the Steelers, and then they play the Bengals. So we could figure a lot of things out for the rest of the season in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And